Hey all, I'm Nicholas Peace, and I'll be doing John Keats and Ode on a Grecian Urn. John Keats was an English romantic poet of the second generation, along with the British poetry greats like Percy Shelley and Lord Byron. Largely unrecognized for his talent during his short life, Keats only seriously wrote poetry for 6 years after rejecting a physician's life in favor of that of an artist. Upon contracting tuberculosis at the age of 25, Keats spent the last days of his life in Rome, having only sold maybe 100 copies of his published poetry works. Lamenting his untimely end, Keats asked that his tombstone be inscribed with the phrase, "Here lies one whose name was writ in water." But it's safe to say now that after universal acclaim as a wordsmith, John Keats' legacy is not of liquid, but that of stone that will stand the test of time. Most of John Keats' greatest and best-known works were written in a single year, 1819, which highlights the tragedy of the loss that could have been a lifetime of romantic epics, such as Lamia, The Eve of St. Agnes, Ode on Insolence, Ode on a Grecian Urn, which we'll be covering today, Ode to Psyche, Ode to a Nightingale, On Melancholy, To Autumn, which is another one of my favorite Keats poems. I almost picked that one. And the massive, unfortunately unfinished epic Hyperion. So, on the poem that we're discussing today, it's an interesting poem, Ode on a Grecian Urn, whose ending interpretation is even today a bit ambiguous, even among poetry scholars. And it leaves an air of mystery that invites closer inspection of its words, which is why I like it so much. I will go ahead and read the poem for you real quickly. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time, sylvan historian, who canst thou express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme? What leaf-ringed legend haunts about thy shape, of deities or mortals, or of both, in Tempe or the dales of Arcady? What men or gods are these? What maiden's loth? What mad pursuit? What struggle to escape? What pipes and timbrels? What wild ecstasy? Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, ye soft pipes, play on, not to the sensual ear, but, more endeared, pipe to the spirit ditties of no tone. Fair youth beneath the trees, thou canst not leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare. Bold lover, never, never canst thou kiss, though winning near the goal yet, do not grieve. She cannot fade, though thou hast not thy bliss, for ever wilt thou love, and she be fair. Ah, happy, happy boughs, that cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu, and happy, happy melodist, unwearied, for ever piping songs for ever new. More happy love, more happy, happy love, forever warm and still to be enjoyed, forever panting and forever young. All breathing human passion far above, that leaves a heart high sorrowful and cloyed, a burning forehead and a parching tongue. Who are these coming to the sacrifice? To what green altar, O mysterious priest, leadest thou that heifer lowing at the skies, and all her silken flanks with garlands dressed? What little town by river or seashore, or mountain built with peaceful citadel, is emptied of this folk, this pious morn? And little town, thy streets forevermore will silent be, and not a soul to tell why thou art desolate can e'er return. O Attic shape, fair attitude, with breed of marble men and maidens overwrought, with forest branches and the trodden weed, thou silent form dost tease us out of thought, as doth eternity. cold pastoral. When old age shall see this generation waste, thou shalt remain in midst of other woe, than ours, a friend to man, to whom thou sayest, beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye on earth, and all ye need to know. So, with this poem, the Romantics were artists that were fixed on what was, the glorious, rosy, and flawless past that may or may not have existed, but it was so beautifully recalled in prose that it's what we want it to have been. We play along with this dream because it's seductive and it's alluring, and it seems preferable to our current state, where our pains and grievances are fresh in our minds. I suspect that if he lived now, men like William Wordsworth would have been writing Ode to MacDonald's Play Place, or The Solitary Video Gamer, and other such lamentations to a lost world of the 80s and 90s. Now, Keats was no different. An Ode to a Grecian Urn fully encapsulates that overriding Romantics theme of preserving and recalling that which has been lost. In this way, the urn described captures, like a snapshot in time, a moment and feeling of a world that was, but can never be again. The urn is wrought with fantastical detail, capturing on all sides an activity that isn't just beginning, but is not fully concluded either. A middle ground of events, trapped in the limbo of unmoving art. Tragedy colors our view of what should be happy occasions. An unravished bride on her wedding day, a revelry of mirth and ecstasy, two lovers beneath the trees of spring, and a sacrifice to the gods before a town by a river. All are frozen upon the urn, ironically depicting some of the most powerful moments of what it means to be alive while lacking all mortality. An unmoving, unchanging, and immortal piece of art. Living itself, captured in the eternal stasis of pottery. Keats, our assumed protagonist, approaches the art from numerous angles. In the first stanza, he wrestles with the details of what is being depicted. He asks what drives these figures, these unliving humans still upon the urn, to do what they do. He says, "What men and gods are these? What maiden's loth? What mad pursuit? What struggle to escape? What pipes and timbrels? What wild ecstasy?" To these questions, the urn is silent, like the figures. It is the memory of a time or feeling that Keats cannot reach and can only imagine. During the second stanza, Keats changes his tactics. He cannot know exactly what is happening in the minds of these figures, or even the artist who preserved them there, but he can admire the stillness of it, the positives of a moment preserved that can never not be. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, ye pipes, play on. These lines really encapsulate not just this poem, but the Romantic period in general. The days of childhood and man's oneness with nature are gone or unheard, but those thoughts are sweeter in our minds as an imagination or a fabrication of half-remembered memories. Even in this, however, Keats cannot help but notice that the song being played cannot earn a kiss from the musician's audience of one. They are in a state of love and youthfulness forever, but are unable to experience life as a real person can, to act upon their state of being. In many ways, Keats seems to find that reality preferable to his own. Spring never passes on the urn, songs never end or become stale, and weariness never sets in. Stanza 3 even seems to bring up the downsides of taking up the activities depicted to their natural conclusion of human passion, as he so tastefully puts it. Getting physical with a loved one only leaves you with a burning forehead and a parching tongue. There's no doubt that Keats was a titan of poetry, but that prowess may not have extended to the bedroom. I'm not slamming the guy, I'm just saying that, I've never thought, after expressing myself to a lover, that it wasn't worth it because I wanted a glass of water at the end. But I suppose that's to each their own. In stanza 4, more questions with no answer are asked. of a scene depicting a sacrifice before an empty town. Though at this point, Keats seems to accept within the same stanza that these questions will go unanswered. And little town, thy secrets forevermore will silent be, and not a soul to tell why thou art desolate can e'er return. The poet, taking all that he has reflected upon throughout the poem, comes to terms with the reality of the urn in stanza 5 and compares it to the afterlife, or a nameless otherworld realm. Thou silent form, dost tease us out of thought, as doth eternity cold pastoral. The urn is a beautiful work of art, and its memories and preserved catalog of a place and time serves as a friend to man, but it's ultimately a quintessential example of the old adage, so close, yet so far away. A piece of art in front of our face and existing physically in our world, yet immortal, enduring, and still, a state of being we can never reach as constantly moving and ever-changing mortals. The last lines are, as they often are, the most powerful. Beauty is truth, and truth beauty. That is all ye on earth, and all ye need to know. There are several legitimate interpretations to this line, or these lines in my eyes. Keats either means for the urn to say that beauty and truth transcend our humanity, or that the urn represents the hope or ideal of truth equaling beauty, but not the reality. In the world of the urn, it doesn't matter. That's all ye need know. Personally, I think, why not both? Just like the questions asked of the urn by Keats, the ode itself has no hard answers for us. No art truly does, and Keats understands that. Art, whether it be urns, paintings, or poetry, is simply a snapshot of a time and place, an unheard melody that's all the sweeter for being unheard, an expression of truth and beauty for all time. It's up to us to bring our interpretation to it, and when we do, our lives make contact with the art, breathing life, even for a moment, into an otherwise unliving memory of days gone. Thank you all so much.